I'm a husband, I'm a man, I can't leave her, I need to go back in the house. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel, Apparently Ashley, and today we are talking about Married at First Sight, Season 12, Episode 8. So before we get started with this video, I want to say a huge thank you to everybody who watched my last review, even those who don't even watch the show. I really appreciate it, and I just want y'all to know that your support means so much to me. So let's go ahead and get started with today's review. I have my handy dandy notes. You know who was still being a you know what, and we will get to that. This episode is centered around friends and family. All of the couples hosted get-togethers at their new homes, except for Chris and Paige. They had another type of get-together, but we will get to that later. And they also had one-off visits with some of their loved ones, just so that they can start integrating them into their new marriage, because they haven't seen them since their wedding day 2 weeks ago. So let's jump right into it, and let's start with Clara and Ryan. So Clara's friends were unable to attend the get-together because apparently they were busy. So she just had the wives from the show come to the house as her support system, and then Ryan had a couple of his friends come over. So during the get-together, Clara was telling Ryan's friends that she has never seen him without his shirt off before. And when she was talking in her confessional, you can tell that this girl is sexually frustrated, okay? She is just like, I don't know how much longer we can do some physical things, but not all physical things. And she was saying, like, by now, like, something would have been popping off, you know? And she is just, she doesn't know how much longer she can go without going to that next physical step. And she is saying that she thinks Ryan is waiting for some type of like rainbows and butterflies type connection, which honestly I think he is, because Ryan is just more of like a slow mover. He just moves at a slower pace. But like, I'm kind of on Clara's side with all of this, because I feel like this is a fast-paced show. And if you come into this show with the mindset of like dating, boyfriend, girlfriend type stuff, then like, it's not really gonna work like that, because we got 8 weeks to decide if we're gonna spend the rest of our lives together. And so we gotta expedite some stuff. We gotta have difficult conversations quicker than we normally would. We have to be vulnerable sooner than we normally would. Things are just gonna have to move at a quicker pace than we typically would move, because this is an experiment. We have 8 weeks and we have to try to like rush all this stuff in that time frame to see if we're gonna spend the rest of our lives together. So I understand where Clara is coming from. I think Ryan's moving slowly and carefully because he just is afraid of getting hurt. And so he just wants to make sure that this is gonna be the real deal type of marriage before he shows that vulnerable side to Clara and moves to that next step. Because again, remember, he's never said he loves anyone before. And so I think he just wants to be like 100% sure, which fits with like his whole brand, before he commits to Clara in that next level type of way. You know what I mean? So I still think they're gonna be fine. However, I do think it's crazy that they did not kiss for the first couple of days, according to Clara. I see where her frustration is coming from, but we will see where all of this goes. So, all right, up next is Virginia and Erik. So Virginia went out of town for a wedding, and Erik was at home missing her, waiting for her to come back. And so Erik went to go meet with one of his friends, and he was telling his friend how Virginia is just super hyper independent, and he wants her to miss him while she's gone this weekend. And he was talking about how she just doesn't check in with him when she's gone and all those things. And he was talking about how he wants Virginia to ask permission to do stuff, like when she goes out with her friends and stuff. And I'm gonna try to give Erik the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to say that he is using the wrong verbiage, but I'm gonna try and dig beneath that and see the true message he is trying to say. He doesn't literally mean permission. At least I hope he doesn't literally mean permission, because that is such antiquated thinking. For example, with me and my boyfriend, we do not ask each other for permission to do things. We both just state it like, hey, this weekend I'm going to hang out with so-and-so, or hey, I'm about to go here. And then if one of us has an opinion or a comment about it, then we just have an open dialogue around that plan. There's no permission asking going around. We're not signing permission slips and stuff like that. And so I'm hoping that Erik just means he wants it to be a discussion, but then again, he could fully mean that he wants her to ask him, can she go? Either way, he says that like if anything breaks them up, it'll be that whole situation right there. And his friend made a really good point and was like, you know, you just have to be mindful of how you speak to Virginia, because you have to make sure that you're not speaking down to her, and you need to speak to her in a way that she will receive it. Very good advice, because I feel like a lot of times we talk to people in ways that we think is effective, but they're really missing our entire message, right? And so remember in my last video, I stated that Erik can be very just matter of fact with his speaking, and he can seem very condescending. So I do think he could work on communicating with Virginia in a way that she will receive it. So after Virginia gets back from her wedding, they are getting ready for their get together at their house. And remember, Erik has this whole mindset that men and women cannot just be friends. Like there's always have to be some hidden agenda if a man is friends with a woman, right? And Virginia has two very close guy friends. And so those guy friends are coming to the get together. And one of those friends pulls Erik to the side. They're speaking on the balcony, and he's basically giving Erik this advice on how to deal with Virginia. And he's telling him how Virginia is just such amazing person, all this stuff. And afterwards, Erik is talking in his confessional, and he's like, yeah, like I really appreciated him pulling me to the side. Like it was such a good conversation. I respect him, blah, blah, blah. So it seems like his mind is more at ease now because of that. So hopefully that's not something that he is worrying about any longer. Also, Virginia's friends noted to Erik that when they're just alone, like they were waiting for Virginia to kind of start bad talking Erik and talk about how she doesn't really want to do this anymore. But they said she has nothing but positive things to say about him. And so that was really reassuring to Erik. He felt really good about that. And so they seem to be maybe going on the up and up. We'll see. I don't know. They're such like a wild card to me. I don't really know what's going to happen with them. So we will see. All right, on to my faves, Briana and Vincent. So if you remember from last time, they got in that argument because of the champagne spilling on his shirt. Briana said, that's so Vinny of you. Vinny got mad, right? So last we saw, he was walking out the house and he was about to go home. Come to find out, he said he made it to the parking garage and he was like, I'm a husband, I'm a man, I can't leave her, I need to go back in the house. So he did not end up leaving. He went back in the house and they had a discussion about the whole thing. So Briana ended up apologizing, and she said, if I disrespected you, then that was not my intention. Pause. That is not a real apology, okay? If you say, if I hurt your feelings and I'm sorry, that's not a real apology. That person is clearly telling you that you just hurt their feelings, and you're saying, well, if I did, I'm sorry. No, girl. So anyway, she tried, she apologized. We'll take it. So now they're all fine and dandy, okay? So fast forward to Vincent meeting with one of his good friends. They're eating lunch and all this good stuff. And Vincent is telling the story to his friend. And we find out some very key information that changes the whole dynamic of that conversation, at least in my opinion. Vincent tells his friend that he was embarrassed about the champagne spilling because he was trying to be all smooth and cool and calm and collected and stuff. And Briana was basically making these smart comments. And so that made him embarrassed. And so I feel like if a guy is embarrassed and then a woman just adds to that embarrassment, he's gonna then become defensive, right? Like that's how I see it in my head. And so you would then expect him to just be like, or you would think he would just be like, oh, like I was embarrassed, so like that's why I kind of got upset. But remember, Vincent is that beat around the bush type of person. He's not just gonna come out and say his feelings. And so that was definitely like a miscommunication, misunderstanding type of thing going on with them. I think him saying that he was embarrassed was just a really important piece of information that was missing from that puzzle for me. So Vincent went on to tell his friend that he is very delicate with Briana, and so he just wants Briana to be delicate with him. And his friend gave some advice that was stepping on my toes, to be honest. So his friend was like, you cannot expect you from other people. And I was like, that is enough, friend, because that I need to hear that all the time, because I don't know about y'all, but I get upset when people don't respond and react in ways that I would respond and react, but I know that's not logical, but it is what it is, and I'm working on it. So anyway, his friend was telling him that, like, yes, I understand you are expecting that from her, but you know what you should expect from Briana, for Briana to be Briana. And again, I was like, that's enough of calling me out, but very good advice from that friend. And so hopefully Vincent takes that to heart, and also just, you know, eventually has that type of conversation with Briana, with, like, you know, how he would prefer to be spoken to and stuff like that. And then hopefully they can navigate through that. So fast forward to their get together at their house. They were super cute with their friends and family. They played cute games to get to know each other. They played 2 truths and a lie. They basically had a game night, my type of party. I love a good game night, so I was here for it. Yeah, the whole get together went well, in my opinion. So, all right, on to Haley and Jacob. Haley met with one of her good friends to talk about how the marriage has been going so far. And she was telling her about her and Jacob's argument that started in Vegas and continued in Atlanta. So if you remember, Haley went on a little girls' night with the other wives in Vegas, and then Jacob found out that some of the husbands joined in, and so he felt like Haley didn't want to hang out with him. And so when Haley is telling this story to her friend, Haley made it sound as if she started backing off after Jacob got mad about that situation, when in reality, and I'll say reality loosely, as a viewer, Haley started backing off before that even happened. Hence her going out with the girls and not telling Jacob that other people had joined in, right? And so I was like, girl, you just really not gonna tell the whole story like that? And so she is continuing to talk to her friend and just telling her how, like, she is committed to this and she does want to make it work. And her friend is basically co-signing all that, saying, like, you know, this is a marriage, like, you have to give it your all, because I would hate for you to look back at this and be like, dang, like, I wish I would have tried a little harder, right? So Haley is just like, you know what, you're right. So she is still trying. Kudos to her, because you can just tell this girl is just not into it. Remember the fanny packs, the 80s, the neon colors, she is not here for this. So, but her friend did call her out on that, because when Haley was talking about that, she was just like, okay, those are just some little quirks, like what's actually wrong? And I was like, ooh, not that. Jacob met with the husbands, and Jacob was telling them that his fear is Haley becoming invested in him and Jacob then pulling away from the marriage, because he wants them to be on the same page at the same time, which obviously makes sense. And so he's just afraid that, like, once Haley does start to be invested in him, then all of a sudden he'll be like, you know what, like, I'm done trying with this, like, too little too late, right? However, I don't know if Jacob will really have to worry about that, because Haley's friends told Jacob that Haley has a fear of commitment. So I don't know if she will ever fully become invested in Jacob. And so imagine how that made Jacob feel when her friends told him that. They had that conversation at their get together at their new home later that night. And Jacob's friends were telling Haley that you have to be very direct with Jacob. He misses a lot of subtle cues, and that seemed pretty obvious just as a viewer. And so I would hope Haley would have caught on to that by now at this point. I do think Haley is going to continue to pull away in this marriage. I understand how she says that she's going to continue to try, but I just don't think that her heart is in this. Even before finding out that she has commitment problems, I think she just doesn't like the man. Also, let me note that Jacob had a really interesting technique to get himself out of situations he doesn't want to be in. So he wears his watch like, so you know how, like, we wear it like this, or like you wear your watch like this? He wears it on the inside. I can't turn it, but the face of the watch is on the inside of his wrist. And Haley asked him why he does that. And he said so that he can, like, discreetly, like, if his hand is like over a couch or something, he can discreetly, like, look at the time. and then kind of like excuse himself from the situation. And it's not like rude to the person he's talking to. And I was like, that, sir, is a bona fide introverted, I don't like to people move. So I appreciated it. It was nice. All right, so Chris and Paige. Where do I start? So Chris met with two of his pastors and he walked them through his experience so far. He told them how he was not initially attracted to Paige. He had the nerve to tell them that he had sex with Paige because he thought he would magically become attracted to her after that. He told them that his ex-fiance is pregnant. And then he told them that he's going to get a divorce from Paige. And his pastors took a beat and they looked at him and they were like, Chris, this is the most selfish, immature decision that you can make. And they were like, are you just about to flip-flop women, just switch women out like that? Like, what are you doing? And he was telling them that, you know, he doesn't want another man to raise his kid. And they were like, you can be a good dad and raise your kid while still being married to Paige. Like, what is this thought process? And immediately Chris gets all antsy. He's checking his phone. He's just checking out of the conversation because you know why? He's hearing what he doesn't want to hear. And he is that type of person who, if he's not hearing what he wants, he's going to shut down. And it was just so annoying to watch because he was just like, you know what? I'm done with this conversation. I don't want to hear this. And I was just like, can you like be a grown-up and just listen to somebody else who has a different opinion than you? Maybe? No? And so they were talking in their confessional, the pastors, and they were just reiterating how like this is not a good decision for Chris to make and that like he should stay married to Paige. Granted, do I think he should stay married to Paige? Absolutely not. However, I am glad that they are not praising Chris for how he's been handling this situation because I feel like Chris thinks that he has been handling this whole thing with grace and respect and that he should be like commended for his actions and stuff. And so I'm just happy that they weren't giving him a pat on the back for that. Let's fast forward to this little powwow get together that Chris, the ex-fiance, and Paige had. I think his ex-fiance's name is Mercedes. So they all met up, and to be honest with you, the conversation was pointless. The main thing we got out of that conversation is that Mercedes and Chris are not working things out because Chris led us to believe that he still loves her, she still loves him, and they're about to work things out and be a happy family, kumbaya. And she was just like, no, I don't want him, girl. And Paige was like, oh, okay, nice. And again, Chris had a repeat of the same mannerisms that he was exhibiting when he was meeting with the pastors, where he started getting antsy, checking his phone, getting agitated, because I think he wanted those two women to meet up and he wanted some drama to go down and he wanted them to fight over him. But what really happened was they were just talking it out. And Paige was telling Mercedes how this whole situation went down. And we all found out that Mercedes does not want Chris and Paige does still not want Chris. And so Chris is sitting there looking ridiculous. And Chris had the nerve to tell Paige that she's being rude while talking to Mercedes. And I was just like, you are telling Paige she's being rude? Like, bruh. What? So it was ridiculous. So the conversation ended with Chris just walking out, the same thing that he did with the pastors, because he wasn't hearing what he wanted to hear. The conversation was not going his way. And so, yeah, it was just so annoying to watch. I cannot stand him. And tell me why we see Chris and Paige in next week's previews. I don't understand why they're still on this show. Like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But I will note, I was watching a review of the show from another channel, and they had Dr. Viviana on the show, and Dr. Viviana was saying how like Chris did not present himself to them the way that he's presenting himself on TV. And she was saying that as the experts, they honestly just feel like they got duped because Chris was just not saying the crazy things that he is saying on TV. And it was kind of just reassuring to know that like they didn't see this man in this light and then still choose to put him on the show for like entertainment purposes. Like you would hope that they wouldn't do that, right? Because these are people's lives. And so they were saying like they are disappointed. It's disgusting to watch. They feel bad for Paige, all of that stuff. And so, yeah, that man's a con artist, man. He's crazy and he's manipulative and he's toxic and he's just all of that. It's so bad. So based on the preview for next week, it looks like some of the couples are gonna have a little tiffs here and there. Vincent and Briana look like they're discussing saying that they love each other. Clara apparently is getting like some motivational talk from Ryan that she is not trying to hear. Haley and Jacob are going at it because I guess Jacob wants Haley to just fall in love with him. I don't know. Of course, all of this is editing. You know what they do so they can pull us in to watch the next episode. And let me tell you, it's working because I need to see what's going to happen. All right, y'all, that wraps up my review of Married at First Sight, season 12, episode 8. Thank you for watching. Remember, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And I will see you next week. Bye. Blah, 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 blah. Pause. All the couples hosted get-togethers at their new homes, except for Chris and Paige. They had another type of gift words. Blah, blah. 5, 4, 3. I'm like a reporter. All right, on to Haley and Jacob. So Haley met with one of her good friends to explain how I mess up already. No, I'm not even gonna say that because I don't. Okay.
Keeping it a book.
Keeping it a book. I feel like Chris thinks that he has been handling this whole situation immaculately. I don't even know if I said that word right. Hold on. Based on the sneak based on the preview for next, maybe if I could say a word.